I didn't care about nothing else but partying.
I should be doing horror music.
Jävlar, kunde vi få över oss det här?
Why you getting that impression?
Jag älskar ju liksom så här typ koncept.
It's exciting, it's fresh, it's different. The purists hate it.
It's really strange.
I tried working for the man, but fuck it, you know.
Whatever makes you feel good, go with it.
Old to the new. A flavor from the old so you don't scare people, but with the future sound.
Berlin har sedan 90-talet positionerat sig som världens bästa stad för att uppleva en kompromisslös natt på klubb. Beroende på musikaliska preferenser finns det alltid mycket att välja på. Vill du ha din house avskalad, kanske organisk? Ska din techno vara extravagant eller hedonistisk? Absolut, Berlin levererar. Få klubbar lyckas nå utanför landsgränserna ryktesvägen, men ibland händer det. Musik Dernulf presenterar Virginia som under många år spelat och styrt soundet på världens mest kända klubb. Klubben som förra året firade 15 år, Berghain. Som resident och artist på klubbens skivbolag Ostgut Ton har hon varit med om att forma bilden och framförallt soundet på Panorama Bar.
Even if something is really happy, for me there has to be like an off, like a blue note to it for me to actually touch me.
Virginia Högel Nascimento, född i München med brasilianska rötter. House- och technoproducent med 2 album bakom sig och ett dussintal singlar. Ja, det är mer än 20 år sedan hon debuterade på skiva, men det är bara drygt 10 år sedan hon kom ut med något i eget namn. Virginias musikaliska universum är stort och greppar över mycket, men även om det är old school electro eller djup house och techno så är det hur som helst tydligt att soul-influenserna skiner igenom.
I think that especially my singing probably, even though I think myself that I might not have this like typical gospel voice, but of course I always listen to a lot of soul music and all these big singers and stuff, and that leaves a trace for sure, and so maybe the combination of like the electronic music that I love hearing also as instrumentals, like non-vocal electronic music, and then maybe pairing these two things might create the Virginia sound, or might create something that you just mentioned as being soulful and maybe the harshness of this ravey, breaky beat sometimes with this more soulful vocals maybe give that mixture that I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you sort of have elements from the rave era. You have sort of Chicago house, bumpy ghetto tracks vibe to it. But then again, you add a certain amount of melancholy to each and everything you do.
That's true. That's true, really. I don't know why that is. Maybe this is because I just feel I'm not... Yeah, sometimes I'm sad, but I'm also, when I sing, I'm also very happy. But somehow there was always like this. There's always this, and this is also something I'm looking for, this melancholy. I don't know, for me, it transports more feeling, even though in some of the tracks of the Virginia album, of the Fierce for the Night album, of course, lyrics that are taking place on a dance track, mostly the lyrics are about either a heart being broken or finding love, or like love in the moment, or ecstasy in the moment, or whatever. I think I just have this like basic melancholy in my voice, or in the lines I find. I don't know, my inspirations were always Sade, Tracy Chapman, and I'm, even if something is really happy, for me there has to be like an off, like a blue note to it for me to actually touch me.
Do you need my love? Tell me why. I need to know. Do you still try?
Virginias första upplevelser av klubb i Berlin kom under 90-talet, och även om det fanns klubbar i München där hon kunde hänga med äldre kompisar till hennes syster, så var det såklart ingenting mot att få åka den 50 mil långa resan till mytomspunna kulturella meckat Berlin.
I went with a friend of mine. She was playing in Berlin, and then I would drive up to Berlin with her, and then we went to E-Werk and Tresor, and I mean that was all like, oh my god, what's happening here? This is all like this industrial and I don't know, heavy and big. Everything was so different to Munich, where everything is kind of like, you know, was kind of polished and a little bit more. I mean, we had amazing clubs in Munich as well, but I mean, seeing Berlin and even though I think I was a little bit too late, I would have loved to experience Berlin or the change in Berlin as well, but then obviously I was a little bit too young. But yeah, it was such a big difference to Munich, it completely caught me in like boom, like yes, this is where I want to be.
And then eventually it turned out to be your reality.
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
You heard your way back, and you don't want me to sing.
Virginia lämnade München för Berlin, och genom vänner och ett gäng DJ-gigs senare hamnade hon på Panorama Bar, och med det växte också ryktet om tjejen som gjorde det där lilla extra bakom skivspelarna. I hennes värld var det självklart att hon skulle göra det hon är bäst på, sjunga samtidigt som hon spelade skivor.
Hon var en av dem som vi brukade gå och kolla på söndagar på Berghain, när de bara hade öppet till 3 på dagen.
Johanna Knutsson, DJ och artist och före detta Berlinbo.
Så brukade jag och mina kompisar, när vi var unga och fattiga, vänta till att gå ut till söndag morgon, för då kostade det bara 5 euro. Så då brukade hon vara en av residenterna som spelade då på söndagarna. Hon och Tamasumo och Steffi.
Det är fler som inspirerats av Virginias sätt att spela och vara. Australiensiskan Bella Saris, DJ och producent boende i Stockholm sedan några år tillbaka, har också flertalet gånger mött och framförallt hört Virginia bakom skivspelarna.
I guess I first heard of her when I started DJing, but then also like saw her play in Panorama Bar, and that was really something very special. I mean, it's always amazing to see the residents play there. It's like, I think they're the heart and soul of the club, and that's what makes it such a special vibe. They really have a specific sound, which is what Panorama Bar Berghain is about, you know.
Have you noticed any specific sound that she and Steffi is sort of pushing?
Actually, good question, because I think I've listened to their Blitz takeover mix like tens of times, maybe like so many times. It is one of my favorite mixes of the last year. It's brilliant. It's very like a lot more electro focused, breaky, and it's so fucking smooth, really. It's like I think it's one of the best mixes I've heard. So yeah, that's a good one to check out.
Hon spelade väldigt så uplifting och liksom väldigt så positiv house, alltså en sorts house som jag inte hade hört så mycket innan. Det var väldigt classic, och hon sjöng också, hon sjunger fortfarande, vilket är helt mindblowing. Det tycker jag är, alltså det är jag fortfarande så imponerad av, att man lyckas DJa och sen få feeling och ta upp mikrofonen och sjunga. Alltså det är så, och liksom upp på bordet och dansade och så kommer det så naturligt för henne och så hjärtligt. Det är väldigt alltså det är inget fake alls, utan det är så rakt och ärligt.
Johanna Knutssons första år i Berlin var hektiska, och hon introducerades till både Virginia och Steffi. Och passande nog var kontakterna så bra så hon och pojkvännen kunde till och med ta över Virginias lägenhet. Och sen växte vänskapen.
Så en dag så frågade hon mig om inte jag ville spela med henne på Panorama back to back. 2013 var det. Jo, det är klart jag ville. Så det var första gången jag spelade på Panorama med Virginia 2013. Hon hade sett mig spela en gång på någon annan klubb och gillat det. Men det roliga är att jag spelade mycket av den musiken jag spelade för att jag gillade hennes musik. Sån infinite loop av beundran.
my first impression of the club, this building is incredible and has such a great energy. And for someone coming from Munich, this was also like the architecture, and then also like the freedom and the diversity of music and people. It was just very overwhelming in the most positive way. Like just an incredible experience. Coming back to Berghain and play Panorama Bar is a learning process for me as an artist and a DJ. I've learned a lot, especially with these long sets that we're playing, and it's also an opportunity for growth and is trying to reinvent myself without losing my signature sound or like my signature, so it for sure makes me a better DJ, and it's also about like the feeling and the freedom playing and in this place is amazing. Like the freedom the crowd gives you to listen, even if you want to try out something, and they just bear with you and they celebrate it, and because they always know, okay, you know that she has a plan, she's going somewhere with this, and this is amazing. So the crowd is always patient, is always going with you, and of course there's like better nights and nights where I have to work, like, in quotes, work harder to get where I want to, but I also go there with a plan. I have a little bit of a journey prepared, and the most amazing feeling is when people go on this trip with you, go on this journey with you, and celebrate all of the records and the music that you put so much thought and effort in to select, and they dig them the way you dig them. So that's the most rewarding feeling, I'd say, playing in Panorama Bar.
Virginia är, kan man säga, född in i musiken. Det var väl där som grunden lades. Föräldrarnas musicerande, deras smak och den egna sången framför spegeln, imiterandes stjärnorna och drömmandes bort.
There was always a lot of music in my life and a lot of memories, and I'm coming from a very musical family. My father had a band himself, a big band, and I was with him quite a lot, not at nights, obviously, but like from the very early days, I had a strong connection to music, and it was also always supported in the family to get some musical education and stuff. My mother was a singer herself and a dancer with a Brazilian ballet. And my sister worked in music publishing, so there was always, music in the house or in our minds or around us.
Give me a glimpse, sort of what type of sounds were around.
Well, that's very different, of course. With my sister, what comes into my mind now is Mother's Finest, I'd say. This was my absolute, oh my God, baby love and that kind of stuff. My father is more like Glenn Miller and some jazz musicians, and my Sade with my mom. And a lot of Brazilian music as well. So I don't know if the names will ring a bell for a lot of people, but so there's all sorts of different types of music, and of course with my sister as well, like electronic music. It was the beginning in the 90s where I picked up some of the stuff that's good in the beginning. Yeah. I really love performing. I'm not so much a performer when I'm not on stage. This is really for the stage, and I love interacting with people. I love to sort of give things life, a song, jump around the stage and dance and stuff, and just like live it, And this maybe was the thing that initiated it. And then, of course, you're like, okay, what do I need to do to actually be on stage and present something, you know? And then, I learned piano, and I had singing lessons and the kind of classic, steps that you do. But yeah, I think performing really was just like, oh my God, I want to be on stage. That's amazing.
De tidiga åren kan sätta igång en process, men de säger inte nödvändigtvis hela sanningen. Livet hinner emellan, möten och tillfälligheter, och plötsligt är du någon annanstans. Virginias musikaliska alter ego idag har tagit många och långa vägar, men rymmer självklart en hel del 90-talsmusik.
Let's make a little detour. I just recently, when I gave up, my partner and I gave up the apartment in Berlin, we both sold a lot and like big chunks of our record collection. And basically to what I melted it down to was stuff that I started DJing and started collecting. So I guess my inspiration is really in the 90s, end of 80s, but then I was still too young. But when I was really experiencing it in clubs and buying records, that was really music, electronic music from the 90s. And you just mentioned before FX Twin, Orbital, then of course also a little bit later than electronic bands like Moloko, you know, or one of my most favorite band, of course, Underworld. And but I guess it's all kind of initiates in the 90s, I'd say.
What ignited your drive to actually give it a go yourself in creating electronic music?
I think it was Underworld. I think there was this moment of listening to Underworld in a club, and I'm like, damn, wow, what's that sound? What are these instruments? What are these synths? And back then it was not like, oh my God, this is that desk and this and that. Even though I have seen a lot before, because I worked in studios as a singer, was booked as a singer before I started my electronic music career. I really had one of these moments where I was like, oh my God, what is that tune? And I wanna be up on stage there. I wanna DJ. I wanna make this music. And but then I'm also a big sucker for Eurodance. So there's also a lot of Felix, or I just listened to this with my partner yesterday, last night, which was fun. So you know, there's also like this very not niche or underground part of me that's really a big sucker for like Eurodance as well, you know. But again, it's all back in the 90s. I mean, there's amazing contemporary electronic music as well. That's not what I'm denying or anything, absolutely not. I'm just saying, like, for myself, of course, this is when I started, this is when I fell in love with electronic music, and this is probably where my inspiration comes from.
And talking about sort of both Underworld and sort of Eurodance, is it the fact, sort of, in a sense, that you could relate to all of a sudden electronic music with vocals?
I guess that makes sense. But also I loved just very cheesy string patterns or string lines and synth lines, and oh my God, they're just very catchy, you know. So it's catchy and it rocks, and it. Or even Snap, you know, like Exterminate. Oh my God, Nicky Harris. And the combination, of course, of electronic music, catchy electronic music, but then also Underworld is such a force, you know. When I had the chance to see them live 2 times. I've seen Morocco a couple of times, and just the energy on stage and sharing this with your friends, your mates, your band colleagues, and it's just an incredible feeling.
I always want you by my side, baby. I always want you.
Hennes första äventyr var som bakgrundssångerska med diverse band. Och genom klubbscenen i hemstaden kom hon i kontakt med Tom Novi, Steve Bugg, Abe Duck och Butch och började samarbeta. Det blev en raketstart in i klubbvärlden, men det tog inte så lång tid innan hon tröttnade och tyckte att den blev själlös och tråkig. Den minimala technon hade tappat glädjen och det var trummaskiner med enstaka basgångar, men ingen berättade någon historia. Virginias väg ur sin musikaliska dipp blev att gå tillbaka till rötterna och sugas in i soulmusiken och ge tid för att låta rösten få rum och hitta sin plats. Hon la till sin mammas efternamn och gav ut ett album som Virginia Nascimento, som för att låta de brasilianska rötterna se dagens ljus och samtidigt ett sätt att separera sig från den tidiga klubbkarriären. Nu blev det inte fullt ut som hon tänkt och det dröjde inte länge förrän hon återvände till en variant av vad hon tidigare skapat. Det blev Steffi som lockade fram det där sista som behövdes. Samarbetet ledde till att de började prova sig fram och skicka skisser till varandra. Steffi fattade tycke för Virginias sång och deras produktioner ger plats för vemod men framförallt lyster i form av den soul som Virginia så tydligt saknat tidigare. Yours från 2010 var det lyckosamma resultatet av första samarbetet. Fler skulle komma. På debutalbumet hade hon samlat ett rutinerat gäng som var med och skrev låtarna. Steffi, Dexter och Martin. Och resultatet blev ett hyllat album och framförallt en samling låtar som visade på en varierad palett av idéer och stilar. Här möttes 80-tal och nutid i en vacker förening. Senaste albumet Work a Change kom 2019 och på det klev Virginia och Steffi än mer tydligt in i elektrons värld. Soundet tar avstamp i den tidiga 80-talets elektrovåg som inspirerades av breakbeat och den begynnande hiphop-scenen, men framförallt av funken. Electrofunk var länge en term som användes för att beskriva soundet vars motor var trummaskinen Roland TR 808.
It's actually funny because at the point where we started working on the last EP together, the Steffi ex Virginia EP on Ostgut Ton, we were both working in a house in Portugal, but not in a studio really. I was basically up in the guest room with like a temporary a vocal setup. Steffi was downstairs in like a sort of studio with a couple of outboard synths and some drum machines and stuff, and then we were constantly popping the tracks and ideas up and down, and then I would come down like, hey, what do you think of this vocal line? Oh my god, it's good. Oh no, drop it. It doesn't work. It doesn't touch me at all. And then I would say, oh, this string, I like the other one better. So we were constantly running up and down between the rooms. But for example, with Steffi, we found a way for us now. We start. For the EP, we started the ideas together in the studio. Then we brought them to our like laptops in this case, and everyone was working on the tunes themselves. And then at some point, we were sitting together again in one room and doing some editing and stuff. But also we know each other and our workflow so well at the moment that it's actually it takes too much time if we do everything in the same room, So this is why we decided, okay, you take this track with you, like this sketch, I'm gonna work on this one, and then just like exchanging ideas.
Virginia är inte personen som lever mediacirkusen på sociala medier fullt ut. Hon finns där, men låter snarare sin vardag ta plats och tänker bort att fokusera på sköna bilder. Musiken och skapandet får vara det som tar plats och tid. Hon har tidigare sagt att hon hellre lyssnar på och upptäcker mer ny musik än spenderar tid i garderoben för att göra sig fin för bilder eller för gigs. Att tänka långsiktigt och våga tro på sin idé kräver mod och framförallt tålamod, och även om Virginia antyder att hon saknar tålamod i studion så har hon precis det som krävs för att gå sin egen väg. Nu under den pågående pandemin har hon dessutom fått tid att kunna både fundera och formulera hur hon ska gå vidare och vad som ska komma härnäst.
With the pandemic, I have to say I put a little bit of a pause to a couple things because the pandemic was a good moment for me to look at other aspects and sides of my life. Of course, I did a bit of music, but these days I realized I can tap into my creativity much faster. Some sort of like a muscle that you train, you know, and it's much more trained than it was a couple of years back. And I know maybe a little bit better which direction I want to go instead of being on the look for where I really, how I want to sound, basically.
Virginia har i samarbete med Steffi låtit elektrorytmerna fyllas med annat än de tidstypiska vocodern eller talkboxen. Det hade varit för uppenbart och självklart skapas något helt annat och unikt med Virginia vid mikrofonen. Hennes stämma har själ och närvaro och samtidigt den vemodiga och lätt melankoliska tonen som skapar något alldeles eget, och tillsammans med Steffi har hon hittat något unikt. För några år sedan så började hon känna att det behövdes något annat. Berlin hade inte riktigt det som krävdes längre. Ett hus i Portugal lät intressant, och livet på distans med 2 boenden är inte så problematiskt om man är kringresande DJ och producent. Det som lockade var en närhet till naturen och att kunna tydligt separera ett hektiskt liv och få möjlighet till återhämtning och även öppna upp sig för nya möjligheter till inspiration.
I love it. I was never aware of the fact that it's so beautiful to listen to so many birds in the morning. Sometimes like, in Berlin, you know, why are the birds already awake? And that means that, you know, it's daylight. And there it's just like, oh my God, more birds and cats and whatever. And the view is amazing. It's 15 minutes to the seaside, which a lot of times when I got stuck in some things or in my mind, it's just like, you know, driving to the sea and just catch and that cleansing breeze and watch surfers. I tried it even myself. I actually want to get into it much more because it's so, you have to concentrate and focus and you don't think of anything else, and the cold water and stuff, and it's energizing and as I said, cleansing, and it was the best decision ever. Like I'm very grateful that I found this beautiful space and place.
You're the reason why.
Virginia är ett kraftpaket. Hon tar plats och utstrålar samtidigt värme och en nyfikenhet på vad som väntar runt hörnet. Hon är som en schweizisk armékniv i sin multibegåvning, producent, DJ och sångerska. Ja, du har hört Musik Dernulf om och med Virginia. Tack för att du har lyssnat, och supporta gärna med några kronor på Patreon för att få lite extra godbitar i form av programmet med musik och sköna utlåtningar av fina skivor med artisterna som du hört i podden. Vi hörs!